Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the DanJohnUniversity.com podcast. I'm Dan John, and this is episode 206. Welcome back. Remember, if you have questions, email them to us at podcast@DanJohnUniversity.com. Each week, I do my best to answer each and every question. And what I'm going to do is I'm trying to make it clear now when I'm kind of combining questions a little bit. People say you don't answer my question, and I look at it and I swear I did. But thanks for being here, and let's get on with the questions. We don't have a lot today, but the questions are quite good. Christoph asks a question. He says, do you think focusing on firing a certain muscle, feeling the pump in the targeted muscle, mind-muscle connection in the basic lifts has value for the normal guy? Or should one just move the damn weight and pay attention to find a groove that feels good for them? Like you said in one recent podcast, the body is smarter and will slap on the muscle where it is needed. And you're paraphrasing, and that's okay. For example, some bodybuilders use push-pull hinge squat variations, but shift the emphasis on certain muscles that they think lag behind. For example, using mental focus and a slightly different technique to really feel more of the pecs and benching, or more of the quads and squats, mind-muscle connection. I think this comes from different body types, which have different limb proportions relative to your torso. On the other hand, one could use a variation that suits them better, front squats for tall and lanky lifters, or dumbbell presses instead of barbell presses, for better suiting one's movement groove. Well, Christoph, this is a question that's been around a while. If you read materials from the early 1950s, there's two people I've got a great respect for. One was the Iron Guru, Vince Gironda. Now, I've heard Vince Gironda must have been really a guy, because I've heard the most positive things in the world said of him, and I've heard the most negative. His insights on food, I've tried a lot of them. I tried that massive amounts of desiccated liver and brewer's yeast, and I tell you one thing, my body didn't like it, and anybody who had to be in the weight room with me could honestly tell you that too. No one would spot me in the squat. I loved his work. He was very much into this idea of to find certain muscles. For example, on the bench press, which he thought was a terrible exercise. This ties into your question. A terrible exercise. So he pushed wide grip to the throat bench presses. For dips, he preached the V style wide grip dip instead of parallel V. Didn't believe in squats. He said they widen your butt. Didn't believe in a bunch of exercises. His insights on ab training were way ahead of the rest of us. If you look at his books, he really emphasized pushing that lower back into the ground and crunching that ab wall, which now we know is not only a better way to work the ab wall, but it's a lot easier on the rest of the spinal column and that whole orchestra of things that's going down in that area. At the same time, you got Reg Park coming out with books, and Reg, who was, of course, Arnold's hero, he was pushing, you bench press, you military press, you front squat, you back squat, you deadlift, you curl, you tricep extend, you do pull-ups, thank you very much, and, just big exercises, 5 sets of 5, that kind of thing. Christoph, so the reason I gave those two very good examples is that, you can train Reg Park way and really have amazing body composition changes, so you look good on the beach. You can train Vince Gironda's way and build up what he called the illusion. He loved using he really saw bodybuilding a lot like Michelangelo saw, making a sculpture. If you whittle a little bit here and add a little bit there, you look a lot better than if you just do one or the other. If you add an inch to your shoulders this way and you take, an inch off your waist, you're going to look far better than if you added 2 here or took away 2 there. Of course, it always depends on what, the structure you're dealing with. The issue, and I just want to make sure you know this, Christoph, is I don't really work with bodybuilders very much, body composition. There's far better people than me. I mean, I know what I know, and I certainly work with people who want to look better for weddings and the beach and just, life in general. As Dick Notmeyer taught me years ago, if for some of the things, it's probably better to learn how to, take a ballroom dancing class and, use some basic hygiene will do a lot better than, getting yourself down to a 29-inch waistline and ripped to shreds, because, depending on what you're interested in, those two options might be much better for you. I'm not sure that, like when I was young, we were told to do incline benches for the upper pecs. When I started focusing on incline bench presses, I came back and someone said that they could clearly see that I'd been doing it. That might be true, but it was also the fact that the person hadn't seen me in a while when I was, say, 202, 90, 91, 92 kilos, and then I was 105, 231. I was just bigger and fuller. So was it the incline bench press or the fact that I was doing high rep squats, snatches, clean and jerks, really pushing my off-season training? I know every so often you'll see these compilation studies in the research. They always work with the population that doesn't really help us understand, beginners. I do think it'd be worthy of study if you want to get your doctoral, you do your dissertation or even your master's, to study if this really does happen. The person who I have great respect for, Brett Contreras, he does all those studies with the machines to find out what the best glute exercises and activation and all that stuff. So when he's talking about, this exercise works this part of the glute, and he's got those little machines with all the little things stuck to it, and can say, yeah, this does work and this doesn't. This does work here and this might not there. Oddly, somebody one time asked me why my spinal erectors were so big. His name was Randy Taylor, and he was a bodybuilder. And I said, I don't do a single thing for it. Well, but I did. I snatched, which you hold, and clean and jerk, where you hold your lower back in this kind of this isometric position. Let's just stick with that, because I feel like I can defend that phrase. And then I did a lot of hyperextensions, but I also did a lot of front squats and back squats. So my spinal erectors were getting called out up to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And the only thing they could do was to respond and grow bigger. So sometimes you can really work a muscle group without even touching it. I know this, if you decide to do high rep back squats, you're going to get growth in places in your body that you never even considered. We're going to have a question in a minute or two on biceps. And I've often been told when I was young, the best way to build your biceps, this is just Tom Platz, I'm quoting him basically from articles, interviews, and workshops. You want to get bigger biceps, do more heavy high rep back squats. The body is one piece. Your question is good. I think for most of our audience, the body is one piece. Stick with the basics. But for the people who are trying to slide into actual bodybuilding competitions on the platform, you are going to probably have to spend some time working on the details like Michelangelo would do. As always, it's one of those questions where so much depends on what you want long term. If you're to stand up in an auditorium, on a platform by yourself in posing trunks, you can't leave many stones unturned. So you might need to do those kind of specific works. Whether or not it works as well as the traditional lifts, I don't know, but the tradition in bodybuilding is that it does. So kind of a vague answer, but the best I can do. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to combine two questions, okay? So Jeff and James ask questions that both sound pretty similar to me. Jeff says this: I really like group workout classes, but they tend to push the intensity almost every day. And that's true. One of the things I like about, I'm gonna riff here just for a sec, Jeff, with my intentional community, Monday and Friday are usually my big lifting days in the weight room. If I'm Olympic lifting, those are the 2 heavy days, or the 2 front squat days. Wednesdays generally is the other big day, but I tend to slide over more to say, like, that would be a heavy front squat day traditionally, or even heavy, or the hard glute day with the hip thrust, the front squats, the deficit deadlifts, the clamshells, hard day. But Tuesday's rucking. We used to do rucking on Friday, but I didn't like having the 4 or 5 day rest. It's a personal thing. So now we do rucking on Tuesday, which is hard, makes you sweat this time of year. If you eat any salty foods, you'll know it. And then a Thursday is always the tonic day, where we do mobility, original strength, flexibility work, these stretches we call vents. And then it depends on travel schedules and stuff. And then Saturday and Sunday, we just fill in the gaps as appropriate. What you'll notice is, so you've got those 3 high intensity days, the rucking, which is intense for certain things, and the tonic, which is really gentle. And then Saturday and Sunday, it can be off if you like. So I like to plan into literally the days of the week. This is what our gym does on these days. Now, if you're going to show up, you're from another country, and you show up on Thursday and you want to learn how to do a lift, I'll ask you to stick around after, or come before, or whatever, or even in the afternoon, and we'll train you, but stay away from the tonic stuff. But when you're in a class, you kind of get stuck on this, going right to the wall, get those RPMs through the roof every single day. You're right. You've got to learn how to ease off and walk away. At my age, that's not a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea at any age, Jeff. There's nothing new under the sun. Recovery has to happen in all kinds of different doses. And I do think you need to recover from high intensity work with at least 48 hours of recovery, especially in the weight room. That doesn't mean you can't lift every day, but you just have to make sure you figure out how to get around it. Any recommendations for how to manage one's own intensity in these classes? Take 1 easy, 1 medium, 1 hard a week if one were to attend 3 a week. Yeah, okay, I think that's a pretty simple way to do it. The only problem is you better make sure your instructors know that you're planning to waive your intensity. I go to these gyms with all the television screens on the wall, and you see all these colors up there, and they applaud the people who are, at the highest heart rate and the highest intensity. But long term, that's no way to live a life. That's no way to keep a training program going. How can you possibly come into the gym and do better every single time? I don't know any aspect of life that's true. Okay, we'll continue. How would you handle situations where the group fitness programming may interfere with the rest of a lifting program? For example, I'm deep into a cycle of a rite of passage, a good program, and hitting my shoulders pretty hard with cleans and presses. On the rite of passage off days, Tuesday, Thursday in our case, I do cardio boxing. If a crazy day of push-ups is programmed at cardio boxing, do I take it easy? Abstain. Any advice we appreciate it. So this is why I'm combining Jeff and James's questions, because basically we're asking the same thing in both questions. But one of the things I want you to think about is you've got this program called Rite of Passage, where it specifically says to take it easy on the off days, and you're doing cardio boxing. And I think there's great value in that. One simple solution could be, Jeff, is to do the cardio boxing on the same days you do Rite of Passage. So Rite of Passage, you go, depending on how you schedule it. I tend to do in a week heavy, easy, medium when I do Rite of Passage. But I like the easy day after the heavy day. So Friday's the heavy day, Monday's the easy day. Just however you can get it to work in your own situation. And the reason I'm telling you these different options, sometimes my schedule when I was doing Rite of Passage travel, not my I was coaching, something would come up and it just didn't work out as well. So the first and the most obvious thing to me would be to do cardio boxing the same day you're doing rite of passage. But if you're gonna keep doing and train every day, you've got to have some kind of, you're gonna have to back off the push-ups, I think. Your instructor might not agree with me, but James's question is very similar and we'll combine the two. So James says, I've been strength training for 15 years. I played sports from high school throughout college, and while my workout programs have varied, I've been consistently lifting weights for a decent amount of time at this point. As a result of all of this, I'm definitely starting to feel some of the effects. Patella tendonitis. I tore my labrum a while back and feel some of the repercussions. I almost said concussions there. I'm in my late 20s and still like to be pretty active and have the desire to compete in various things. Run 5K sometimes, get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Folks, you gotta type it out as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My question for you, would you recommend programming-wise for someone whose goal is to just feel good and adaptable? Currently, I like to train easy strength 3 or so days a week and work in the cardio the other days. That being said, I still have aches and pains and feel tight in the joints. Okay. Can you see how I put those questions together? Is they're both asking the same thing. If you want to look good, feel good, move good, and learn good English, there are times where rest, deloading, and easy days come into place. Which one is this? James? Yeah, it's James. James is asking about, he's doing easy strength 3 days a week. But with those other activities, I would argue, James, is to pack them on to the same 3 days. Now, you might say, well, I just don't have time. I got the job, I got the family, I got whatever. One thing that I do recommend for a lot of people who just want to feel good, most people have 2 days a week. Now, in most of my experience, that's Saturday and Sunday, where they have a little bit more of a gap of time. You don't have, most people don't work on Saturday and Sunday in certain areas. Obviously, many of our listeners do. But on those days you have off, that's the day I would recommend doing easy strength and your sport and the other stuff. So Saturday and Sunday, you do 2 relatively intelligently designed easy strength days. And if you have questions, you can certainly go to the Easy Strength Omnibook by Dan John at easystrengthomnibook.com or danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore. And you can find a million answers to this question, sadly. At least that's how I feel when I look at it. What I like about this idea for a lot of the people who say they get beat up is, so you get those 2 hard training days, and then Monday and Tuesday are off. And then Wednesday you do an easy strength workout, and it'd be great if you could do your other sport again. Thursday and Friday, again, off. It'll give you a chance to look good, feel good, move good, and all that stuff. Now, if you decide you still want to work out every day, make that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Those are the easy days. Those are the days, you ride your bike. Those are the days you take that yoga class. Those are the days you do whatever you need to do to get what you need done. To just feel good, and this is, I think it's really important, especially a young man like yourself, to just feel good, you do have to push it a little bit. That's why I like the workout generator so much. When someone's kind of scrambling about what to do, the workout generator, danjohnuniversity.com, you're going to do a push, a pull, a hinge, a squat, and a loaded carry, and mixed in between every set is a mobility movement. Well, that's not bad. And then you go for a walk if you feel like it. But if you're doing, and the reps are more hypertrophy reps, more power and hypertrophy in the 8, 10, 12 region, 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 12, I still think are some of the best numbers ever invented in the weight room. And so if you're doing something like a military press, 3 sets of 12, and then you do flexibility, mobility, movement after for your upper, for this area of your body, and you do those 3 rounds of that, you're going to feel pretty good at the end of it. And then you do the pull, you're going to feel pretty good. If you feel good while you're training, there's a good chance you're going to feel good the rest of the week. If you decide to go to failure, you're doing a lot of missed reps, you're getting in these silly contests with your friends in the weight room, and you're kind of beating up your joints, your joints aren't going to get better. The thing is, in both of these questions, you'll notice I didn't see any conversation at all about things like doing a sauna. I had I have all these little massage devices throughout my house. I have a massage gun. I've got that little massage peanut down there, which is wonderful. I sauna. I take it seriously. I go for walks. I buy these really cheap pools every year, and I fill them with hose water, so they're really cold. And I'll sit in there sometimes and read a book. It's not freezing like some people advocate, but it's cool. And I'll notice that when I'm in there, as I cool down, I cool down up here too. I'd also like to see you think about, I don't see meditation, and of course it was just a question, but I would love to see you think about, check in on your sleep. I try to average 8 or 9 hours of sleep every night. Another thing I do, and this is maybe a little crazy, and I don't know if you can see it, but I also keep a CO2 monitor here in my office, but I also keep one in my bedroom. And one of the things I look at, if I'm struggling and with sleep for a while, if I see that my bedroom, it should be, I'm at 667 as I'm speaking in my office, and that my CO2 goes up in my office during the podcast, because since I'm trying to keep things quiet in here, I close off the doors, I close the window. I do have my heat and air conditioner going on sometimes, and ideally that's refreshing the air. But we've got this oxygen consuming, CO2 expelling beast in here with no other things around me. So sleep hygiene, are you getting enough of it? Is it dark enough? What are your CO2, by the way, instead of wasting a lot of money on some other stuff, maybe put a couple of plants in your bedroom. That'll refresh that air as good as anything else. Are you sleeping? Are you getting enough protein, which is a bigger issue for us. I'm amazed sometimes when I work with men and we look over their diet, just a 2 or 3 day snapshot of what they're eating. Very often they're not eating enough protein. They eat a lot of food of the beige variety, French fries and chicken, whatever brand of, that was one time almost a chicken. Chicken nuggets, I always argue, once walk past the chicken, that's all the chicken in them. But really the amount of actual good protein they get is very low. And if you are a vegetarian, peas and the bean family, beans match with another vegetable to make it a complete protein. You can really get a lot of protein from peas, shockingly. Meditation, your social life, your personal life, your stress level, those things can be as impactful on your general I don't feel good as missing a big lift at a meet. So for many of the men and I didn't mean to be sexist there, but I just the one sex, but many of the men I work with, I've been arguing them to shift over to Saturday and Sunday easy strength days with walking. Also on Sunday, Saturday, you do the big shop of the week. That's the day you chop the vegetables. That's the way you put the food in the Pyrex, the glass containers, so you have them later in the week. So 2 hard workouts on Saturday and Sunday, a reasonable workout on a Wednesday, and follow with a minor shop if you have to, because I think if you can start mentally combining your food preparation with your training, I think that's a good place to be. And if you can get yourself to look into your sleep issues, I would strongly recommend meditation. I use brain.fm. The rain reflection is the one I listen to every day. It's 15 minutes, and it really has been wonderful for me. If you can cool off in a cool pool and heat up in a sauna, whatever gets you there. But don't forget the multiphasic look at your about feeling good. Sometimes when people hurt in the weight room isn't always the issue. Sometimes it's all those other factors. And I hope I'm clear and honest about that each and every week, that we do have, there's a lot more to this world than, 5 sets of 2 and, getting those big lifts. I hope that helped. I love those 2 questions, and we'll talk, if you want, in a follow-up if I wasn't clear enough. Would both of you remember that? Thank you. We have a question from River. I recently decided that I wanted to do a triathlon with my coworkers, and training for it has taken a tremendous amount of time, as I have to set aside time to run, bike, and swim. A lot of people might not know this, but when I got back from the Middle East, I had that liver parasite, dropped that 40 pounds in 2 weeks, wasn't feeling good, and then I hurt my back helping one of the secretaries at school just pick up something very small, something called typewriter. And my back just blew up, and my doctor said he wanted me to bike as much as I could, keep the stress off there, but keep my engine going. And then he told me to swim, but he insisted that I learn to swim bilaterally, which is something I had never done. So I hired a lifeguard to teach me how to do bilateral swimming. And I figured since I was swimming and biking, I might as well do sprint triathlons. And I really enjoyed it. The 2 or 3 years it took me to recover from the illness, the parasite, and the lower back problem, I biked and I ran and I swam, and I really changed my vision of how I train. When I was finally cleared to go back to throwing the discus, it had been about 2 years later. It was 2 years later I could throw again. What I noticed is that I picked up a whole bunch of qualities I never knew I had as a discus thrower. For one thing, after doing those long bike rides, I could throw the discus a lot longer. I had learned how to deal with boredom. That doesn't speak highly about running, biking, and swimming, but it helped me. I was worried that I needed to cut out my strength work, but all of the advice I found on the internet from top triathletes has strongly suggested that I need to keep up some strength work. Most triathlon routines carve out no more than 20 minutes for strength work, and my mind immediately went to easy strength. So I would like to incorporate into my lunch break. Do you think easy strength sounds like the right fit for this training cycle? River, I don't know of anything that would be better. Now, I have to tip my hat to Phil Maffetone, who I first read his books in 1986. And of course, he was training triathletes. All the famous ones had come to him. And the person, Stu Middleman, who broke the 1,000-mile race time. These guys run 1,000 miles in a race, which is a lot of miles. And Stu Middleton and Phil worked together, which I still think is wonderful. And Phil Maffetone's the one that taught me to be a lot smarter about heart rate monitors and utilizing appropriate heart rates for what I'm trying to do. But he also is a very good advocate of strength training. Now, he has one thing called slow strength, which is where you leave a barbell in your house, and every time you pass it throughout the day, you do. It's interesting in his book. He'll do Romanian deadlifts. He'll do overhead squats, which I just think is amazing. Every hour on the hour, a set of 8 overhead squats. That's pretty good. Now, in your case, that might not work. But on your lunch break, I would strongly suggest that you stick with the most boring of the programs. And I mean this. I would like you to counter the effects of the bicycling. And so what I'd like you to think about is vertical press, military press, some kind of either lat pull down or pull-ups. This is, again, I hate to do this, but it's it's the most standard template. So a vertical press, a vertical pull, because I really want you to, emphasize this, a deadlift variation as appropriate to your needs and the way you're built, the ab wheel, and then just the suitcase carry. And that's it. And that is it. I think the value on this, on the suitcase carry, I think you need to have that strange anaconda strength that we get from suitcase carries, where your body has to be knitted to be able to walk with it. I'd go heavier than you think. Just go down and back. On the ab wheel, 1 set of 10 is fine. Don't make it into a war. Roll out, come back, roll out, come back. And on those other 3, either follow all the programs in easy strength or just make it something as simple as you like to do. If you can only, you might want to use pull-ups as your monitor. If you're swimming, we got to get those pull-up numbers up a little bit, I think. But, you know, and then if you do have a good number, let's say, I'm making it up, but 15 pull-ups, then I would like you to add load and keep the reps down a little bit and easy strength it up. I'd like to see your press, you know, certainly on a 3 sets of 3 workout, I'd like to see you use half body weight. I'd like to see you, you know, on a 3 sets of 3 pull-up workout, I wouldn't mind seeing you do body weight plus a little bit of extra weight, either on a vest or like we hold a kettlebell on our foot, you know, like this, and you cross it over. And then the deadlift, I'd like to see you do, you know, at first maybe just do, depending on your variation, but body weight, but build yourself up to a 1.5 body weight deadlift for, you know, maybe 3 sets of 3. Take your time, keep your rate of exertion, you know, reasonable, and just keep coming back. And I think that's really going to support your triathlon goals well. If you had a perfect lunch break, and I don't know how long you have or how much you can get it done, but, you know, you could probably get the workout I just described to you done in, I mean, for me, I could do it in 12 minutes because I don't rest very long, usually in easy strength, but 15 minutes. And if you had the time, that might be a real good time, that 45 minutes, to figure out either a stationary bike thing or a run or whatever would, support your goals. The idea of doing a stationary bike followed by a run 5 days a week, and literally in that. So bike, run, practice that transition. That might be gold in the actual race. So transitions are very important in triathlons, and very few people originally trained them very much. But when guys like Mark Allen really started to, think about those transitions, I think the sport really changed. All right, thank you. Good question. Okay, thanks. We have a question from Travis. Travis, oh, this is going to be popular. It's about biceps. My wife has been getting on my case for not getting them bigger as I incorporate all the basic strength moves into my routine, like dips, chin-ups, Yates rows, overhead presses, and many more. I don't want to think I have linguini arm genetics. I just love that. And there may be something I'm doing wrong. Has there been any regimen that you recommend in getting bigger biceps? I will be slowly getting back to my old full body routine of 4 days a week of the standard barbell dumbbell moves once my hand recovers from a minor injury. Any advice we greatly appreciate. Well, all right. Pushing too many pencils. Okay. I'm always amazed when people can't figure out how to get their arms better because, I was at track meets for a long time, and these guys would show up in the throws, shot and discus, with these pythons. And, of course, sometimes you'd say, what are you doing, man? Nothing. This is just... So the best way to get big arms is Tom Platz's advice again. Get those high weight, high rep back squats in, and then, get your bench press up to a high weight and high reps. So first off, you need to have some general overall body training. Something that stimulates the whole body to say, I don't know what's going on out there, but I better get bigger and stronger. let's ignore that. Let's assume you're going to do that, Travis, after you get back. But I mean, there's nothing new about arm training. I still think that the standard barbell curl is the best bicep exercise there is. Since you're very much locked in place out here. The bicep has 4 basic, jobs. One is to do, the Mr. Universe thing. The other thing is to turn the arm like this. The third is to pin this to the body. And the third is to kind of act like a tendon or a ligament when you brachiate, when you do monkey bars, when you swing on a bar, whatever, swing on a rope or whatever. So when you do a traditional straight barbell curl, the bar forces you into this position here, okay? And then you really don't have a lot of ways to get around it. And now comes what I think is the best way to do barbell curls. I still am a fan of cheat curls. We used to call them power curls. It's when you use a little bit extra, love when you make your curl. So this great discus thrower, Al Order, 4-time gold medalist, did it. A lot of people do. Stefan Fernholm, the late great Swedish discus thrower, we would train. And he would do those, and I would do traditional cleans. When I slid over to power curls, first in the 1 lift a day program, and then later in the transformation program, by adding a little bit of power to it, you can use a lot more weight. But then here's the thing. But then wait, there's more. With the weight here, you just try to, fight it descent. So you can put on a lot more weight. You curl the weight up, you fight it going down. Now, I am going to warn you, you can get freakishly sore the first couple of times you do this. And I would even worry about some of you, delightful people, hurting yourself because the intensity is going to be through the roof. 5 to 8 power curls is an eye-opening event. For triceps, I still think the military press is the best way to build triceps. I know everyone's fallen in love with skull crushers. My knock on skull crushers and all that deep elbow bend stuff is once you whack the elbow, it stays whacked forever. So you are now doing day 1 of my transformation program. The military press, 3 sets of 8 with a minute rest each, followed by power curl, 3 sets of 8 with 1 minute rest. And only judge the weight by the 3rd set. It can be a remarkable arm builder. I had never really trained my arms. And the first couple of months after I started doing the transformation program, I was starting to have people look at my arms at parties. I was sitting there one time. I'm not a bodybuilder, so it's kind of unique. It's kind of weird ground. I was sitting there, and the same thing that happened when my traps first started to grow. A friend of mine just started touching my armacondas, my pythons, and saying, "What's going on there?" And I looked down, and my polo shirt was swollen out. I was stretching the polo shirt where my cannons, my guns were. And it was kind of cool because most of my life I've been traps, spinal erector, quads, glutes, the big engine stuff to throw things for. And it was kind of nice to look, kind of a little bit better. So that's my advice to you. The power curl and the military press, add them in. I see you got overhead presses in already. Up the reps on the overhead press, up the reps on those power curls, and let me know how that goes. And until then, don't push too many pencils. Sorry, can't help myself. Okay, Johnny asked a question. Johnny says, I wrote a few months ago regarding programming rock climbing in an easy strength fashion, climbing a little nearly every day. It worked out well. My grip strength went through the roof, and this translates very well to overall performance. I moved in April, and I no longer have access to climbing walls, and my focus has shifted to badminton. So easy strength for badminton. We finally got to that. Okay. My pressing and pulling seem to be okay. I can do 15 pull-ups. Yeah, nicely done. And my kettlebell military press is 44K. That's fine. My lower body seems to be the area that needs improvement. I struggle to do more than 5 front squats with double 32s. Same with the cleans. I was wondering, due to the conditioning benefits of armor building complex, would you suggest doing the armor building complex 3 days a week for 30 minutes plus, waiving the intensity between the 3 days a week, or 2x5 cleans and front squats 5 days a week in an easy strength fashion? I just read Easy Strength Omnibook, and I'm just realizing how many gems are packed in there. So here you have a book, all that stuff I wrote in the book. And what I love about life is that even when you write a book that's massive, there's always something new under the sun. I don't think people should do the ABC complex 3 times a week. I think you should only do it twice. Johnny, I don't like what I'm about to tell you, but because I like where your vision of this is. But what I'd like you to think about first is this. Let's think about it this way. Is there any chance, since you want to do easy strength and you want to do ABC, can we combine it somehow? You're talking about doing, so you want to do 2 sets of clean and front squat 5 days a week, easy strength. If I think that's not a bad idea, especially if you need practice getting stronger. Remember, strength is a skill. Strength is it's just like typing. It's something you learn how to do, and then you just get better and better and better. In typing, you type more accurately, faster. In the weight room, we add more load to the bar. I just have a thought that maybe if you did your idea of 2 sets of 5 cleans plus 5 front squats 5 days a week, and then this idea. Week 1, 2 days a week, the ABC complex, like you said. Week 2, 1 day a week. Week 3, 2. Week 4, 1. And I think that is a lot more reasonable. The problem with the ABC complex, especially the way I was reading a forum over on, I think it was Reddit, and these people have taken the ABC very seriously, and hats off to you guys. But the problem is I think they might be doing it a little bit too often. Like all hard programs, if you do a half an hour, every minute on the minute of the ABC, that's 90 front squats. And when I say that out loud, it doesn't sound like a lot to say 30 minutes of the ABC. But when you say 90 front squats, it's like, for those of us who've done a lot of squats, you know the impact of that. Sure, you just use double 16s or, double 24s, so the load isn't, extremely high, but it's a crushing number of reps. Doable? Absolutely doable. But with your legs kind of, you're like you said, needs improvement. I'd much rather see you get your improvement by nudging up the improvement rather than punching it in the face. The reason I do like the idea of that clean and front squat idea is that you'll be practicing the movements every day. And sometimes simply practicing gets you to where your goals need to be. All the time, in fact. Practice, the old phrase from Tommy Kono, nothing new under the sun here. Practice makes permanent. So if you're working your legs 5 days a week, that's going to stick. That's a good question. I would like you to get back to me on this. I don't think I talk about the ABC complex enough, but at workshops I have people do it. I hope you follow what I'm trying to get across here. I don't write much about the ABC program, Armor Building Complex. For those of you who are lost, that's 2 double kettlebell cleans, a double kettlebell press, and then 3 double kettlebell front squats. 2 cleans, 1 press, 3 front squats, bells down, rest, repeat. But in workshops, I'll throw that in for 20 minutes out of the blue with almost no instruction at all, letting the volume of the reps teach what I'm trying to teach. And one of the things I'm trying to teach with the ABC is to knit the whole body together. You're asking the body to do a lot of different things in a short amount of time under fatigue. And I think that's what teaches the body to be knitted. Of course, I've said this very many times, but the word fit comes from the old Nordic, to knit. And I think my job is to knit you into the best athlete I can make. Good question. I want you to get back to me on this, okay? Thanks. We have a question from James, and it's solid. I mean, again, these are great questions today. I have a quick question about park bench style training with kettlebells, which is what I tend to do about 75% of the time due to where I'm currently at in my life. Age 36, but trying to train for a decent level of general fitness and playing social sports, including rugby and squash, while balancing a busy job, 2 kids, etc. Something like 2/3 sets of 2-3-5. Something like 2 or 3 sets of 2-3-5 in the goblet squat, clean and press, and pull up, and some carries works well for me in the time I have. However, it seems like I could be even more time effective by combining cleans, presses, and squats in a complex movement like ABC. It's funny how that keeps coming up. Adding in carries or hangs between sets. What are the pros and cons of doing all the movements separately compared to one after in the complex? Well, I got to tell you, the downside now, I just went over this with the ABC, is that it is fatiguing. I think you can do it twice a week. Like I just said a moment ago in this particular podcast, week 1, twice a week, week 2, once, week 3, twice a week, week 4, once. I think that's reasonable and doable. If you're going to do this idea of combining the hangs and the other stuff, which I love, could you possibly do those on the other days? So yes, the ABC, twice a week, once a week, twice a week, once a week, yes. And then on the other days, the hangs and stuff. Now, can you hang between sets of the ABC? Reminder, so it's 2 double kettlebell cleans, a double kettlebell press, 3 double kettlebell front squats. Weight goes to the ground. 2, 1, 3. Could you hang between rounds of that? If you push the rounds into enough time, you can. But for the question I think you're asking, that might not be good, because I would rather just see you do every minute on the minute ABC, or every 30 seconds do the ABC, which is very hard. And just pick a time and do it. There's your workout, walk out the door. If you want to finish up with a set of loaded carries, I suggest with the ABC, the suitcase carry generally. Get your suitcase carry and walk out the door. If you want to keep those hangs, hang when you first walk into the gym. When I walked into the gym this morning, I jumped up and hanged. And I got to tell you, it sounded like the bolero. I mean, cracks and squeaks and stuff that came out of my neck in the first 5 seconds. I think the hang, 30-second hang, and the 30-second sit at the bottom of the goblet squat are the 2 best things I do for my mobility. I do it every day, and there's nothing like it. So yes, I like your question, James. I think it's good. I think you're on the right track. On those other days, so on the week you're doing the 2 workouts, the ABC workouts, do all your other normal stuff on the days that, so if you're doing the ABC on Monday and Friday, on that Wednesday, do your more standard workout. On week 2, say it's Wednesday, do the ABCs and do your more standard workout on the other 2 days. I think if you decide to work out 4 days a week, just do what you got to do and make it work. James, good question, and thank you. A lot of questions about the ABC this week. I maybe need to do do another video on the ABC. Well, thank you. I thought these were good questions this week. As always, if you have questions, send them to the podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. I'll do my best to answer each and every one. And as I wrap up episode 206, just remember, Let's all just keep on lifting and learning. And thank you for listening.